Guys, welcome back. Sdho 121, at least I think it is. How are you doing? Are you doing good? Just so you know, we will be doing Ableton today. I figured I should say that. Say whatever I'm going to do up front, not make you kind of wait and guess. Oh no, is he going to talk about that spirituality stuff? Oh no, is he going to talk about that AI stuff? Or is he just going to get down to good old sound design in Ableton Live? And then there's probably some of you who might say, oh my god, I really hope he finally keys us in on all the new breakthroughs in AI and this major shift in consciousness that is happening on the planet, shifting us up to New Earth, 5D. But we're doing Ableton. And to be honest with you, I actually thought I was going to be coming on today to talk about AI, but I'm not. You want to know why? Because earlier today, I was like, I think I'm completely good with doing anything in Ableton. I'm good with sound design. I'm good with music making. And then sure enough, an hour later, I was like, oh my god, even though over the last 7 SDHOs or 8, I don't know, we've covered sound design in every Ableton instrument and drew parallels between all of them to help with your sound design mastery, I realized there's an instrument that I forgot to do that's very important, and it's sampler. Now you might say, well yeah mate, but you did use simpler in a lot of those SDHOs, and you're right, and sampler and simpler are the same thing basically. Sampler is Ableton's true-to-form sampling device where you drag in a sample, also known as a audio sample, a sample of audio. It can be very long, it could be multiple minutes, or you could throw in a tiny little kick drum, or maybe even a little wavetable, or a little waveform. Simpler, which is actually my preferred instrument to use when doing sampling in Ableton, is a simpler version of sampler. You probably knew that. Everyone has simpler, no matter what version of Ableton you have. That's why I use it more, but I also use it more because it's better. And in fact, I don't really think there's anything that sampler does that simpler doesn't do, or doesn't do very similarly, and we're going to get into that. But we're not just going over sample synthesis today in sampler, because I want to show you that sampler, and also simpler, but we're going to just do sampler today. We really don't do sampler. I don't even use sampler anymore because simpler does everything I need it to from a sampling device and more. But I always want to go around, cover all my bases, and I want to kind of show you the few areas that sampler does that you could say is something simpler doesn't do, but I will also show you that you can do that in simpler. But I want to show you that using a sampler, which is sample synthesis, it's really no different to all of the things that we do in operator, analog, wavetable, all of the native synthesizers. So I've got analog open here. As I'm sure you know, when you begin, so anyways, in sampler, we need to drop a sample in here, okay? And you could drop anything, you could drop absolutely anything in there. Look at this. This is a huge piece of audio. Look at this. Was it like 15 seconds or something? But you can drop anything in there. And then with these looping functions, that turns it into an oscillator, because it'll loop over and over and over again. So for instance, Always want to know where looping is. One thing I will say that I don't think Simpler does, maybe it does, maybe we can remind me this later, but like when we loop something very small, you have the ability here in sustain mode, which is the loop, to loop it. Normally when you loop in a sampler, it goes left to right, it then clicks over left to right, but we can do it forwards then backwards. Now that is unique, and sometimes you'll dial in a perfect sound, you'll then change it to that, and it'll be great. But take a look at this. I'm just going to keep it on the regular one. And look at this. This is the waveform now, and it's oscillating. Now, before we do the thing that I wanted to show you, even though the whole point was to do sampler, let's get our friend Spectrum. I don't know why I called Spectrum. I might have undiagnosed autism, so like things just pop in my head. So right now, let's see what this gives us, this waveform. So this waveform, so rather than, let's say if we were in, I don't know, analog or operator, and we were using a saw wave, or a square wave, or a sine wave, or something a bit more complex, like in wavetable, we would have a waveform. This is currently our waveform. What's in here? Look at this. The main note right here is G sharp. Now I'm going to move this in. Remember I said the smaller the waveform that gets oscillated, the smaller is like the... anyways, I'm not doing a good job with words. Let's just start doing it. Watch what happens when I move this in. What's happening? Well, it's starting back here. We don't want that. I don't like this. How do we fix that? If you go to link, I'll do it. So let's move it in. The smaller it goes, the higher pitched it is. Now, of course, you can always like detune it or like shift it down. So if you're like, oh, I want it to be like that, but I want like lower, well, then just go to the, where do we go? I haven't used sampler in a while. If you go to pitch oscillator, just start like transposing it down. And of course, you put a filter on it. And then you want to get the envelope. Remember, the envelope doesn't do anything for the filter envelope unless you put an amount down. Wonderful. Well, we're not done yet, you silly gooses. Because I want to show you, even though I've basically already done it, that like you literally can do the exact same things in sampler, which I've already demonstrated, but I want to show you a really cool use case. So I've got analog open. I kind of just want a very basic saw wave. I usually do square waves, but I'm like, maybe you should do more saw waves if you're always doing square waves. So that's what we're going to do. And I want to show you something really cool, and it will really hammer the point home. And how are you doing? What's been going on? And take a little drinky break. Tell me what's up. You're gambling a lot lately. Well, if everyone was making a lot of money gambling probably wouldn't exist, which means probably most people lose money. I hope you're not losing all your money. Gambling addicts, alcohol addicts, drug addicts, it's all the same thing. It's addiction, it's addictness, addict. But do whatever you want to do, who am I to say? So in analog right now, we have a saw wave. And I'm going to take the filter frequency down because I don't want to have all of the frequencies up there. And I'm going to throw down our good friend Spectrum again. And I'm going to shift this octave down because I want it very low and bassy. take a look at this note, C sharp, and all the harmonics. Now, what's this note? That's 65 hertz. So you know what that means? In the oscillator section, it oscillates a waveform. Stick with me. I know this might sound basic, but everything's going to build on top of everything. And we are going to be using analog to get one of these waves into sampler. So, again, 65 hertz. What does that mean? It means it's taking a saw wave and it is playing that saw wave, which is a very short waveform. It's playing it 60, it's oscillating it. You could think looping it. It's the same thing. It's playing that saw wave from start to finish, very small, 65 times a second. And because it's a saw wave, a bright saw wave, you're getting all the harmonics. Now, if it wasn't there, now it's playing, see how that one was 1,000 hertz? It's playing that saw wave 1,000 times a second now, okay? It's repeating it. That's why it's a very high-pitched C note as opposed to that low note. Now let's go into here. And let's open up a MIDI clip. I'm just going to draw a short little note. And I'm going to right-click. I'm going to do freeze track. I'm then going to right-click, and I'm going to go flatten. I don't know why it always doubles it up like this. I'm not sure. Let's zoom in. Saw wave, anyone? There's your saw wave. Let's drop this into sampler. Don't need that anymore. Turn on sustain mode. If you right-click and do normalize volumes, it will normalize the volume. Now, I want to click link, and I want to grab one of these. Make sure your record enabled if you can hear it. Good specky drum. Doesn't matter where you start it, doesn't have to be perfect. Ideally, you would want to start on a zero crossing, which is where it crosses this. But if you really look, it starts here, it goes there, and it just repeats. So you can have it start anywhere, really. Where to start? Doesn't matter. Do I want to start there? Ideally, you would want to start at a zero crossing, but it really doesn't matter. Doesn't appear to be a zero crossing anywhere besides right here. I would have to zoom in. I mean, that sounds good. So where's the zero crossing? You can almost kind of hear where the zero crossing is because it gets smoother. But it doesn't really matter which one we use. So this is our waveform. It's this saw wave. being looped, it's being oscillated, as you could say. And we get all the filter frequencies. So what would we do? You might say, well, there's nothing we can do. You're using a sampler. That won't work. It won't work. What do we do? Sie Heivensleiven. But it's all the same shit. First things first. And this is how I'm going to start teaching sound design in any synth I use. Most important thing is first, find out where the volume envelope is. Look at this volume envelope. Remember I told you I like to keep the sustain all the way up until I need it? Ooh, release? No, thank you, mate. We need it longer. I'm going to take this filter. And in fact, dude, let's just play with this. I want it to sound as good as I want. So I want to always start and tell people, start with the volume envelope, because maybe you say, hey mate, it doesn't sound anything like yours. Well, what if your volume envelope was like this? Right? Which says start at, what this says is, it says start at 100% volume and take it down to 0 volume over 18 milliseconds. You might say, hey mate, to hell would you ever do that, mate? Well, it's to prove a point. If you could do all of the fancy sound design secrets of the universe, but if you didn't know that for whatever reason your volume envelope was choking off your sound, it wouldn't matter what you would do, because if you only get 18 milliseconds of sound, you can't do anything. So at the very least, you would want to adjust the decay to be as long as you would need. And look at the release one all the way in. Again, where's the volume envelope? It sounds bad. Just till it sounds good. But I like to just keep sustain all the way up, because I like to know that, because I guess in the earlier days of making sounds and stuff and not really knowing any of this, one of the few problems I ran into before I understood things better was I would draw a long MIDI note, or I would play a sound and I would like it. And it would be in the context of other elements of my track. And I would say, oh, I need this sound to ring, to sustain longer, and it won't do that. And now my track is suffering. Well, it's probably because maybe you had a volume envelope that looked like that. So if you just turned it up all the way, if I hold down a note, it's going to stay there for as long as possible until I release it. And it fades out nice and naturally because I've got this, 2.5 second release. However, if I didn't have any release, and that would be another thing, is I would have my notes, I'd have my MIDI notes, and as soon as the MIDI note would play, as soon as it would end, it would chop off. And I'd be like, why is that? I remember I would upload it to some sort of music producer forum, and someone would be like, your notes seem like they end too abruptly. Maybe try putting some reverb or some delay on there. When really it was just put a release on there, silly. And sometimes you will put the release on there and it'll be perfect, but then there'll be no release on the filter envelope, and that'll screw you over too. Let's give it some punch. Let's give it an amount. So now the filter envelope is responding. So filter envelope 0, it doesn't matter what you do. Nothing's going to happen when you adjust the filter envelope. You have to apply an amount, as you know. And another thing I just started doing in sound design. 1 second though. By the way, guys, if you want me to be your personal one-on-one Ableton music production, sound design teacher, sign up. I'm also an astrologer. So if you do sign up and become one of my Ableton Live music production students, you will also get a free of charge astrology birth chart reading from me, and I've never read anyone's birth chart. So you would be my first. That sounded weird. I actually told my only student a couple months ago, I was like, by the way, I'm an astrologer. I can read your birth chart if you're into that sort of thing. And he was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll probably take you up on that. I've never done his birth chart. So if you're watching this, my friend, that'd be cool. But I also did tell him, I'm like, oh, and by the way, I'm like, not everyone likes that sort of thing. It's not everyone's cup of tea. So don't worry. You won't be offending me. But I would like to read someone's birth chart, though, because I look at mine every day. I look at the astrology of the world every day. So let's keep playing. So something I've started doing, this is a bass sound. Now, as you know, I like to have a long release so the notes sustain as long as I need them to. However, I'm going to play the filter a little more. Always give it some... When you're playing bass notes, you only really want to be playing... This is the thing that I was telling you that I now do whenever I play bass notes. 1 second. You don't want multiple bass notes playing at the same time and overlapping each other. You can only really have one bass note playing at a time. Think about like your speakers. They're having to push out those big bass frequencies. If there's multiple playing at the same time, it eats up the headroom. They can phase cancel each other out. You wouldn't want that. So what you would do is you would go to voices and set it to 1. But listen to what it sounds like without it. I'm going to play a bunch really quickly. Maybe I'll play like a real quick fancy bass line. Hear how they're like overlapping and they're muddy? Now listen to it. Put it to 1. Turning it into a monophonic synth. And then you get to do the very fun fancy smancy glide if you want, which only happens when you put it down to 1 note monophonic. You get to give it some glide. So go to pitch oscillator, glide. Oh, you have to turn it on. Oh, what do you know? The only problem is you don't get that punchy attack when you do the gliding. Like, that's not how my synth sounds, right? So I'm going to stop. You don't get to have that there. So just something to consider. And if you go, hey, mate, I've done all of them things that you did, and it did not sound like that, mate. I got the volume envelope perfect, sitting great. Yo, I's begotten the filter envelope with the envelope amount sitting great. It's all good, mate. I even got the glide sitting down there straight. And I got the time and everything, but I'm not getting any glide, mate. I'd say, is it monophonic? Do you have it set to monophonic, to 1 voice? Yes. Hold on. I'd say, here's how, okay, you got all that sitting straight. Here's how you do glide. You're holding a note, and while you're holding that note, you hit the other note. So you're playing a note, you're holding it down, or if you're someone who goes, well, I'm not like playing, okay, so you have a MIDI note playing, and then you need to have the next MIDI note overlapping it. So if we're holding a note down and we then hit the next note, we want to make sure this note is held down and hit it, and then it will glide to the other note. Think about it. Let's say you're playing the guitar. You're strum the string. You're holding down that note on the fretboard, and while it's still holding down, you slide into it. If you took your hand off, you wouldn't be able to do it. It is glide, my friend. Chonky, did you... Oh, he's sleeping. Oh, yeah, little Chonky. He's so goody. Boy, I really love that doggy. He's so goody. Okay, where were we? I'm going to turn filter envelope off. I'm going to keep this here. And I'm going to go to MIDI effects. Oh, envelope MIDI. I'm going to map it to the filter frequency. It's too abrupt. Let's play with the release. So if you aren't using envelope MIDI, use it, because you can map it to really interesting things. Now, we normally do it to things like the filter, the volume, but you can do it to other things. You might say, hey, mate, I don't know what the hell you would do it. Well, I'll give you a really good tip. By the way, do you ever play with Redux? Check this out. Map it to rate. Now notice how it put it down to 20 hertz. I want it to start all the way up, and I want it to swoop down. So that's why I have the attack, not out. And I want it to swoop all the way down, but not all the way down. I'm going to put it here. Let's see what we get. It's not going all the way up. I actually did know that that was something I was kind of upset with. What if I move this up? I have noticed that like it doesn't, I found, and I could just be like that it wouldn't open the thing all the way up. So when I bring that down, see, it doesn't bring it all the way, but it never went all the way up to the first place. I can't like set a higher number. I don't know why. If you wanted to go the other way, you would probably want to give it an attack. Yeah, I don't know why it's not doing that. So now it's kind of doing that. Do I have to like reverse these? I don't want to like make this seem like it's more complicated than it is, because it's not. Okay, now I had to reverse those. It's actually not supposed to be like, do you know what's going on, guy? Meaning like, not that I don't know what's going on, but meaning like, are you following along? It's normally not this complicated. So it's starting up and swooping down. But if I... So that's like something you can do. Apply an envelope to anything. Obviously, you know we have the ability to apply an LFO to anything. Map and then map it to whatever you want. So yeah. Let's get rid of this bullocks. Now let's get a longer sample. Straight out of Hamptons. Here's one of the things. In theory, you were only able to do in sampler, not in simpler. To be able to hit a note and have it bounce all the way around. So you would do something like this. When you go to LFO 2 or 3 and you have to activate it, you would go to sample offset. Crank it up, and because we don't want it to start in the same place, we want to turn retrigger off. See how it's jumping? Mate, but it sounds like you's be hitting a million notes. What is you be doing? It's be breaking me brain, mate. Tell me about that shit, mate. How you be doing up on steel? Well, listen to what happens when I turn off LFO2. Why? Because it's starting here. But if I go back, I'm hitting the same note. Again, see it jumping around? Someone said, hey mate, put some release on there. There should be more release up on here. We can basically do that. So that was like one thing that you could point to and say, well, you can't do that in simpler. But like you can. Simpler. Simple. Straight out of Hamptons. Do any of you people know that are outside the United States of America what the Hamptons are? Do you know? Do you know, mate? I have a feeling the majority of the people that watch my channel, although not many, I have a feeling you guys are probably outside the United States. Are you? Drop in the comments, say hello, say where you're from. Hey mate, I'll be one of the 20 people who watches every one of your SDHOs. I'm from Japan, mate. I'm from Japan. I'd be like, aloha. But, or is it konnichiwa? You don't sound very Japanese. Hey, mate, why don't you shut the hell up? I'm from Japan, mate. Don't make me come over there to the United States and maybe take a steak and slap you upside the face, mate. You know what I was be saying, mate? I'm straight out of Hamptons. Do you know what the Hamptons are in the United States? Sorry, I'm trying to take a break because I've been doing so much my head needs a break. It's like a very rich part of like New England. I think it's in like New York, maybe Massachusetts, like super rich area. All right. So how would we do that? If you go to slice, I'm going to do slice by beat. I'm going to and then here's what I'm going to do. How many beats are these? Let's do region. Let's do manual. No. Region? 30. Let's go to MIDI effects. Let's get an apreciacja. Let's get a random. Keep this an add because it's going to play this. It's going to play this note every. Make sure you have the right thing record enabled. Notice how mine can do this and have 2 record enabled. That's because I went into the settings and I went into here. Where is it? That's what you would do. I'm clicking C3. I I need to shift it down because I'm playing C3 on my laptop. It's not working. Okay. Got to go to MIDI effects. Got to get pitch. What is happening right now? I'm going to put it on free. So I play C3, it's going to play that, right? But if I click random, look what happens. Now the choices are 12, but we have 30. So let's put 30, mate. Yo, mate, we only got 24, mate. Well, if it matters to you, you can adjust the scale, which will double it, but like, that doesn't really matter that much. So look at this. And then you can go in and adjust this. Play the chance. So it favors the first one more. So yeah, you can do that, mate. And by the way, most of the time you're going to be in classic. One shot, if you're playing a one-shot sample, which is just like a sound, like one sound, ideally, especially like a drum sound, you want the whole sample to ring out. But in classic, you have access to more features than one shot, and you get the same effect of the one-shot mode. You get the same effect in classic if you just crank out the release. So if you just tap a note, let's say it's like a subby bass sound, like a boom. If you're in one shot and you click it, it'll go boom. And then you play another note like higher, boom, 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 boom. It'll play it as if it's a monophonic, and it'll ring it out until another note's triggered, which I believe is kind of how like old MPCs worked. But if you wanted to imitate the same thing, because you do get more features in classic mode, you would just turn the release all the way up so it will ensure that it plays the entirety of the sample. And then to have that effect where they cut each other out like we were doing, you would just go into voices, click it to 1. The mode we were just using, which is not on sampler, is the slice mode. Amazing. We've gone over it many times. Not like a lot, but enough. I mean, hell, this is SDHO 121. Yo, cheers, mate. Mate. So what do we want to do? On this dumb Hamptons thing. Let's go into a loop mode. Let's link it up. I don't care where it is. We just need it short so we can turn it into an oscillator. I'm going to bring this all the way in, even though I think it doesn't matter for what we're trying to do. Go back to our front specky drum. This is going to be very loose and wobbly and gross. Listen. Whoa. Well, hello to you too, Chonkush. Boy, he's passed the fuck out. Mate. Bring it in, mate. Look how long this is. That's our waveform. Does that look a little bit similar to you dirty blokes? To Wavetable? Well, hello to you too, Chunkush. Boy, he's in a deep REM sleep. Does that not look like this? So wherever you are in the wavetable, see I'm moving it? Look at this line. This is what, if I hit a note, this is the waveform that is being repeated. How many times is it being repeated? How many times is it being oscillated? How many times is it being looped? It's all the same thing. Depends what note you play. Because depending on what note you play gives a pitch. So if I'm playing 100 hertz, that translates to 100 cycles, 100 repetitions a second. I believe that's an A note. It will play 100 of these a second, and we will get an A note. Look at this. Look at this long thing. Sounds similar? Mate, but the thing is, mate, when you be playing that, it's at 643 hertz. But like, I don't want it there, mate. I want it a bit lower because I need the bass, mate. So the hell is you be doing that, mate? That's pissing me off, mate. I get pissed off enough because me government says I can't post things on the internet without one of the policemen knocking on me door, and me girlfriend, she's always getting pissed off at me. I think that's all they do is get pissed off. You's gonna make me pissed off too, Gemini? That's not good, mate. Okay, well, go to the pitch oscillator and turn it down. Is there a filter on this? Now, I don't like that the higher end harmonics are so low, so we'll adjust that in here. I want more. Wow, I can't go in any closer. But notice how it started opening up. Now we got all those harmonics back. Now you might say, yeah, well, mate, that sounds like a dog shit, mate. That sounds like a doggy shit, mate. Well, of course, that's why you have the filter. Look. Yeah, mate, but now you cut out all of the high-end frequencies. It also sounds like a shit, mate. Well, that's why we do the filter envelope. You've been around here long enough. Now give it an amount, because no matter what you do, this won't change until you give it an amount, mate. It's too abrupt. That's because there's no release. Still sounds bad because there needs to be more of a release on the volume envelope, mate. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Specky Drum. Thank you, Straight Out of Hamptons. Thank you, The Wavetable. Oh, it's too bright. Lower the semitones, you silly fucking goose. But mate, it hurts me bloody ears, mate. Yeah, well, like I just said, use the filter, you silly dirty goose. Yeah, but now it's not good. Like, well, use your memory, remember? What did we say? You need an envelope, go into the matrix. By the way, if you guys escape the matrix, and apply to the filter frequency, you dirty bloody goose. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. We done? What's left? There's one more thing we needed to do before we close the books. Cook the books, close the books. Then we got one more thing to do. Sampler, what's that final thing I need to do? What's that final thing I need to do? No, it's actually better in Wavetable that I do it. Right now we've got our sine wave. You know we've got our sine wave. See? See this yellow thing? Yellow line? Sine wave, because there's no harmonics. Look what happens when I bring it up. Just a sine wave. But look at these more complex ones. How do these get made? Down here, warp and fold. Look what happens when I turn these. I think the way that you make a lot of these things is you take waveforms, regardless of what they are, you take your waveform, so I listened to this guy talk, very good sound design person that taught me a lot, had a really good channel. I don't even know if his channel's still even on YouTube anymore. And he basically said that like there really isn't a difference between using a sampler, a very capable digital sampler like Ableton's sampler, and Wavetable, because in Wavetable you are basically like, you are putting in, this is like a digital waveform. And the theory, so like just bear with me here. If I play a note, I'm playing this part of the wavetable. This is the waveform, okay? Now, if I take this fold and I move it, this warp, so in theory, it's changing this waveform. Now, if I did that a bunch of times, I could generate this wavetable, and so you would like stitch together things. So for instance, it would kind of be like, if I was in sampler, just get some sort of like footnote. Let's get this, okay? Put on link, loop. You would make a wavetable is, okay, let's get something very small. This is still too big. What happens when I maybe move this a little bit? So let's pretend this was my waveform. What if I took this? Can we crop sample or no? I thought you could crop sample. Is this too small to crop sample? Am I not seeing something right in front of my face? I thought you could crop sample. Is it too small? So anyways, let's pretend this is our waveform, because it is. Okay. What if we took this, which we can't do because, I mean, we could in theory do it, but we'd probably need to drop it in an audio track, and I'm not trying to do that right now because my mental resources are starting to drain. What if we threw this sound, so like, and we could do this. I don't want to go into it because it's going to be boring. Like I would have to like a little MIDI note and freeze and flatten it and throw it into Wavetable. Oh, god damn it. Someone's like, hey, mate, but it would have been better than nice if you did that, mate. I don't even know if it's going to work. Let's do it. Freeze track. Flatten track. Open up a motherfucking MIDI track. Go to the instruments. Not a drum rack, but a wavetable, man. And then you drag it in there, mate. Look at that, mate. See, it's in there. Is it not doing that? Now you might say, but mate, it's not doing the thing. If it's not doing, click raw. Sometimes it works, sometimes it... Oh, mate, take us some... Mate. Sometimes it does a better job turning into it, but like... So if we took this, and we took snapshots of this, and we like turned it into a wavetable... And by the way, you can go into the matrix, by the way, and then you can assign. And then maybe we'll go to warp. Mate. So you can see how you could... So basically these wavetables are created through like doing things like that. Now someone might be like, well actually, that's not actually how the first ever wavetables... I don't really know what's up with people like that. Actually, I do. But I don't want to go into it. Not worth my time. And so, in a way... So yeah, did you even know that? Did you know that you could like literally just... drop any sound into Wavetable? By the way, do you ever play with the convolution reverb? Did you know you can drop a sample into convolution reverb? Did you even know that? Why are you guys not paying me for tutoring lessons? Okay. Time out. You don't have to do that. In fact, I had a very sad thought. I was like, if I got paid, if I taught people all day long, Monday to Friday, Ableton, I was like, that'd be too much. I wouldn't even want that. I have one student, that's good. If I had like 100 students, that would be too much. I'd be like, shit, man, I don't even think I have time to live life. But it would be nice to form some nice connections and talk about this stuff. We're going to be done. We're going to be closing off here. I really hope you got something out of that. You might be like, why don't you like title these SDHOs so people can like find this stuff? I don't know. At some time, the light of the universe might shine into me and say, make like very specific tutorials so people can see them and watch them. Right now, I don't really know what I want to do or what I want to put out. I like this because it's kind of like chill, it's kind of hands-off, like the people that know about this channel, they know about these hangouts. I mean, within the first 48 hours of me posting these, it gets like all the views. So that means people are subscribed to me, most likely you. It pops up and you think, oh, I want to do some sound design hangout. You watch it when it comes out. I don't know how many people watch, 20, 20 people maybe watch all of these. That's pretty nice. Maybe my lone student watches all the time. He didn't tell me. Maybe he doesn't want to. I wouldn't blame him. But this was great, man. I hope you guys had a good time. If you are wanting me to talk more about spiritual stuff, this major shift in consciousness from the old paradigm to the new paradigm, from the 3D to the 5D new Earth, we can get into that. We can get into AI. We can get into astrology. We can do a lot of stuff. Hope you're doing well. We will talk soon.